distinguished guests, friends, and all solidarity movements. It is an honor to speak before you today on behalf of Timor-Leste CSO to welcome to you this Asia-Pacific Solidarity Conference for Western Sahara, a gathering to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the rights and dignity of the Sahrawi people. As a civil society organization, we are driven by these fundamentals of principle of human rights, justice, and the right of all people to determine their own future. And yet, in the case of Western Sahara, this principle to be continued violated. The Sahrawi people remain among the last in the world denied the right of self-determination, clearly enshrined international law and reaffirmed time and again by the United Nations. Today, we come together from diverse regions, cultures, and institutions united by a shared belief that freedom, sovereignty, and justice must prevail over occupation, silence, and indifferences. For nearly 5 decades, the people of Western Sahara have endured exile, separation, repression, and a denial of their fundamental rights to self-determination. But they have also demonstrated extraordinary courage and resilience. Their struggle is not only a national, it is a moral one, and it is one that demands our action. This conference is not merely symbolic, it is a space to organize, to strategize, and to renew our commitment. We must strengthen our network, amplify Sahara voices, and push meaningful action, including the urgent need for a free and fair referendum on self-determination. Together, we can help to ensure that the long-deferred promises of decolonization are fulfilled, and that the Sahrawi people are finally heard, seen, and free. Again, this conference is to be a turning point. Let it lead us to stronger advocacy, broader coalition, and deeper action. To our Sahrawi brother and sister, know that you are not alone. This conference and all those who stand with it are with you in struggle, and we will not relent until your rights are fully realized. Once again, allow me to extend our heartfelt appreciation to the presence of His Excellency Prime Minister Mr. Khairul Hassanan Guzman, His Excellency Dr. Sidi Muhammad Omar, Ambassador, Sahrawi Ambassador and Representative of Polisario, the United Nations, the Corps, Diplomatic Corps, partners, and all special guest participants who made this Solidarity Conference on Western Sahara resounding success. I would like to thank to our main partner, such as the Timor-Leste government, especially Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, Sahrawi Embassy in Timor-Leste, and especially to the Movimento Solidaridade para Sahara Ocidental Timor-Leste, Instituto Lauhamutuk, Renal, Movimento Rosas, Comité Esperança, the Australian Western Sahara Association, Japanese Timor Coalition, Juventude Socialista Mobere, and Frontier, who made this conference realized. Together, we can and must make a difference. Thank you very much.
Open this conference to this historic Solidarity Conference for Western Sahara in the Asia-Pacific region. I want to congratulate the organizing committee, the young people in Timor-Leste, for your successful holding of the conference. I also wish to express my gratitude to the government of Timor-Leste for your presence here in support of the conference. The significance of having an international solidarity conference for Western Sahara in Timor-Leste is clear. Timor-Leste achieved the restoration of independence through a referendum after many years of decolonization process. The decolonization process of Timor-Leste was a difficult one, but the people of Timor-Leste showed to the world that it is possible to solve the problem peacefully if there is a political will. That political will is what we need for Western Sahara now. Back in 1999, on the day of the referendum here, I was in Dili as electoral staff of the United Nations mission UNAMID. Through my work here at the time, I witnessed the enthusiasm of people for a peaceful democratic chance to end the war and decide on the future of the nation. The situation was violent, but the turnout was 98.5%, which was amazing. I was moved by the determination and the courage of people to cast a vote. Some elderly people could not read nor write. Others were heavily sick or seriously wounded, and could not walk alone. Some of them were literally carried into the polling stations by the family or friends. Elderly people said to us, "We have a duty to save this country now for our children and grandchildren." A referendum is not just a human right of those individuals who are living now. Self-determination is a right of a people, of a nation, including those who will be born in the future. It is a sacred right, trusted to those living in this world, and must not be subjected to short-sighted politics of the time. The situation inside occupied Western Sahara is quite similar to Timor-Leste when it was under Indonesian occupation. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression is severely restricted. It is forbidden to publicly express aspirations for independence. Demonstrations are almost impossible. If you do, you will be brutally oppressed. The secret police is omnipresent. Political prisoners are put into notorious prisons in Morocco, far away from their homeland. The prisoners often go on a hunger strike because the prison conditions are so bad. The economic activities are monopolized by settlers from Morocco, marginalizing Sahrawis. Education is neglected. Even a single university does not exist in Western Sahara. I think that Timorese know very well how depressing the life under occupation is. You need to live side by side with arrogant occupying force. You need to suppress your true identity and aspirations. You face a dilemma here between the comfortable life you can possibly get if you close your eyes to brutality of soldiers and suffering of your people, and the hard life of resistance against occupation. In any case, it was suffering that awaits you. I went to occupied Western Sahara once. One young man told me how he was tortured. Torture is a daily occurrence in Western Sahara. But nonetheless, he continues his struggle. But joining the struggle is suffering. But doing nothing is also suffering. The life under occupation is indeed nothing more than suffering. Soffrimento, o terus in tetum. We are here today to show our solidarity with people of Western Sahara under such a condition. We are a small civil society organization in the Asia-Pacific region, but let's work together and call for an immediate holding of a referendum in Western Sahara to end the war and suffering of people here. Viva Timor-Leste, viva Western Sahara, and viva international solidarity. Thank you.
Forum, the movement of solidarity with Western Sahara and Timor-Leste, and Japan Western Sahara Solidarity Group for organizing these important events in coordination with the Embassy of the Sahrawi Republic in Dili. Our many thanks also go to all you present here for your principled support for and solidarity with the Sahrawi people. This year, our people and our friends around the world remember 50 years of several major political events that have shaped the struggle of our people for the past 5 decades. The bloodiest episode in this history is obviously the Moroccan illegal occupation and annexation of our country, which continues since October 1975. These days, we also remember the UN mission that visited Western Sahara in May 1975 and ended its tour on exactly this same day 5 decades ago. As you may recall, the United Nations General Assembly requested the Decolonization Committee, the C24, to send a fact-finding mission to Western Sahara to secure first-hand information on the wishes and aspirations of the people of the territory. And it is an appropriate opportunity to recall the content of that report of the mission, which include the following 3 significant conclusions. First, there was an overwhelming consensus among the Sahrawis within the territory in favor of independence and opposing any integration with Morocco and Mauritania. And second, the Frente Polisario was the dominant political force in the territory and enjoyed massive support from the population for its demand for independence. And third, the General Assembly should take steps to enable the people of the territory to decide their own future in complete freedom in accordance with the provisions of General Assembly Resolution 1514 and the relevant resolutions of the General Assembly. These significant conclusions are very much true today as they were 50 years ago. Our people have endured 5 decades of Moroccan occupation and oppression. However, our people have never wavered in their struggle for freedom and independence. This shows very clearly that there is no alternative to the exercise by the Sahrawi people of their inalienable right to self-determination and independence in accordance with General Assembly Resolution 1514. As you also know, Western Sahara has been on the United Nations list as a decolonization issue since 1963. Yet, for more than 60 years, our people have not been able to exercise their inalienable rights. This leads us to ask why the decolonization of Western Sahara has not yet been carried out, despite the clear international status of the territory. The answer is quite complex, and time does not allow us to delve into it. What we can say as a general comment is that the United Nations as a multilateral organization is facing an unprecedented, profound crisis because of the actions of certain powers that undermine the very foundations of the rules-based international order as we know it. These powers simply want to take us back to a world in which international law and multilateralism give way to power politics and unilateralism. In other words, a world in which the force of law gives way to the law of force. In this context, the United Nations peace process in Western Sahara is still deadlocked, mainly because Morocco, the occupying state, has showed clearly that it has no political will to move forward towards a final settlement in accordance with international law. For its part, the Security Council, mainly under the influence of countries such as France, continues to opt for an action and a business as usual approach, which only leads to maintaining the status quo. This extremely challenging situation indicates that the struggle of the Sahrawi people for freedom stands at a defining moment in our history. However, let's remember that the great strength of our people apart from the unwavering determination to continue their struggle for freedom, is the firmness of the legal basis of the Sahrawi question as recognized by the United Nations and the international community. Therefore, it's not surprising that Morocco, the occupying state, has been trying its best to de-internationalize the Sahrawi question, because Morocco knows very well that neither the occupation by force nor the creation of more colonial facts on the ground can give it the international legitimacy represented by the United Nations. This is why the so-called Moroccan proposal can never give legitimacy to the occupying state, because it's contrary to international law and because the Sahrawi people and their legitimate representative, the Frente Polisario, find it totally unacceptable. Now the question that arises is this: what can we do as solidarity movements and civil society groups in this complex and challenging international environment to continue defending the legitimate rights of the Sahrawi people and demanding the decolonization of Western Sahara, a lost colony in Africa? There is no doubt that we need new and innovative ideas to provide responses to a wide range of challenges that we face as solidarity groups around the world, but particularly in the Asia-Pacific region. In this context, it's extremely important to take actions to further internationalize the question of Western Sahara by engaging multilateral institutions at the regional and international levels. Certainly, awareness and mobilization campaigns are of utmost importance in demanding an end to the Moroccan occupation and the holding of the referendum self-determination for the Sahrawi people. The role that civil society groups, solidarity movements, and the media can play in this regard is essential. We also should continue to denounce the wall of silence and the media blackout imposed in Western Sahara, the continued violation of human rights, as well as the plundering of the natural resources of the Sahrawi people. Before concluding, I would like to recall that the issue of Timor-Leste was not addressed by the Security Council for 23 years. But the people of Timor-Leste never lost hope and never gave up and continued their struggle for justice and freedom. Apart from the international efforts that culminated in the holding of the popular consultation in 1999, international solidarity played a fundamental role in mobilizing the international public opinion and in accompanying the people of East Timor in their long march toward self-determination and restoration of independence. The case of Timor-Leste is a great inspiration to all of us, especially the Sahrawi people. And we firmly believe in the great capacity of our people and our friends around the world to develop innovative ideas and plans of action to continue to support and drive forward the unstoppable march of our people towards their freedom and independence. Long live solidarity with the Sahrawi people in Asia-Pacific region and around the world, and thank you very much for your attention.
My intervention is a little bit sort of, I suppose, Australian focused, because I wanted to bring a sort of a practical element in terms of, what solidarity groups can do, and just with examples and telling you a little bit about why and how we got started and what we've been doing. And I must say I did welcome the ambassador, the Sahrawi ambassador to the UN, talking about sort of ending with the hope. Here he comes now. The hope that we might have some new ideas. So I'm not promising those, but that's an expectation that I hope from attending the conference I can go away with. So actually my name is Leslie Osman. I'm the Secretary of the Australian Western Sahara Association. and it's an honour to join with other civil society groups here in Dili to express our solidarity with the Sahrawi and their struggle for justice, freedom and self-determination. I thank the Friends of Western Sahara in Japan and in the local, that's the East Timorese solidarity group movement for Western Sahara for the invitation to participate in this conference. Being here in Dili is especially significant for me as coming from Australia, because the gaining of independence by Timor-Leste was one of the enablers for the establishment of our organisation. There was a lot of community awareness of what was happening in our close neighbour, Timor-Leste, and interest. And this had resonated with Australians and helped our new organisation, this was about 25 years ago, just at the end of last century, attract our initial membership. And then over the 25 years that have followed, we can also point to Timor-Leste to explain a little bit of the reason why it's so important to have solidarity with movements for self-determination and how it can be achieved. We could see the parallels between Timor-Leste and Western Sahara, and at the time that gave us optimism that Western Sahara would be next in line. Now, we heard from the Prime Minister the history of the UN and promises of referendums, so, and 25 years later, from when we thought it was going to happen for Western Sahara, and so then it was important to put on the pressure. That, as I said, was an enabler for our organisation, and it gives people sort of a purpose. Well, but that purpose has continued, and while gaining of Timor-Leste's, gaining of independence, was the point, was very important and of our interest, locally, and also led, in fact, to the Polisario representative, Kamal Fadel, who had been at one point here in Dili as the ambassador to Dili from the Polisario. He came to Australia and began his diplomatic mission, sort of at more the parliamentary level, but supported, with the support then of a local community group. And we have worked, together in this, major effort of our organisation to raise awareness at various levels of the Western Sahara conflict and the UN efforts to resolve that context. So early on, and this is probably different from other people you might hear from, we became an incorporated association. So that gives us a sort of a formality in our approaching as we approach governments and industry about the conflict and ask them to do things or to change their position. We are an incorporated organisation, and they know that we run by rules. And soon after we were incorporated, the new branch also was established down in Victoria, and that's a very strong branch and very important. So we're all also members with 2 branches. So our aims and objectives are set out in our constitution, and basically it's raising awareness of the Australian cause in Australia. But in fact we go somewhat further than that. Our aims, in fact, are set out here, and we in particular we want to raise awareness and to help achieve a UN referendum of self-determination, access to housing and education for the indigenous Sahrawis in the occupied zones, and the monitoring of human rights on both sides by the UN. Particularly important, and becoming even more so, the development of renewable energy and the opening of new business, new enterprises in the occupied zones in relation to renewables. It's important that our government is particularly, aware of the exploitation of natural resources, the natural resources of the Sahrawi people. So, to do this, also lobbies government and industry, and just a little bit more detail on that. We lobby with meeting the usual, a lot of letter writing, petitions, meetings, and that's particularly the government. We offer solidarity and support to the international campaigns, which I know other global civil society groups do, and we also lobby industry about the exploitation of natural resources, particularly mining. It's really mining and phosphate mining that have impacts on Australia. In other words, we trade in it, and that is against sort of international law, because Western Sahara is a non-governing, a non-self-governing territory. We in the noughties and continuing have campaigned against the trade in phosphate, and basically we've succeeded in that no phosphate had come into Australia from 2016. There's one company left, and they brought in a small shipment shortly after COVID, but nothing else. They won't make a commitment that they won't do it. But the fact that they basically sort of stopped that trade, and that's been very important. We've also taken up the cause of mislabelling of products. I think that was in relation to natural resources, and wrote to customs and also achieved a warning by our Foreign Affairs on, when I say warning, it's information, but it's a covert warning that companies who are going to do business in Western Sahara should take their own legal advice. I can't say that's sort of effective really until there's international push on that. Companies will still do what they see as in their commercial interest. So that's something that, a real sort of outcomes. We also have, in terms of awareness, cultural events, film nights and discussions. We have brought out for visits and some touring individual Sahrawis from both the camps and from occupied Western Sahara. Most recently, we had a successful tour from Mohammed Mayara, who's a human rights defender and activist. Some of the footage that you saw there of the women being beaten, women activists being beaten up, and you can see that it's looking down. Well, one of there's the sort of citizen journalism that occurs with the journalist taking film covertly, and they get chased, their cameras get taken, but they do a fantastic job of getting out that sort of footage and also making longer films and you know, professional work that then makes the world take notice. In fact, we had a conference. Well, this was a while ago now; it's 10 years. But we had a full conference on resources. So the other thing that also raises awareness and is sort of practical help is to have fundraisers after floods, etc. We use our sort of online campaigners to raise funds, and that's important. But probably just as important is when there's widespread telling of people, the hundreds of people or more that we have on our lists about what has happened, and showing pictures of the destruction that floods have wrought, and we appeal for funds. People learn about Western Sahara, as well as contributing some of them then contribute money, but that has been quite successful. So I think I'm near the end there, but I've just got two important points for groups, and that is that I've really learnt over the years. And one is I think it's called these days intersectionality, but what it means is linking with other organisations and groups of people with common aims that mightn't be, and particularly I suppose international. We've got Palestine and Western Sahara, other groups that are interested in international law and human rights, but also people who are more focused perhaps on trade justice and also human rights generally, because that really strengthens support, and they will be involved in events. They will tell other people about Western Sahara, and I think that's really important. I mean, today, even having all these people here is the potential for that. Okay, I'll finish up. And the other, and we're particularly close to the trade union movement, and they're close to the government, so that's important. And mentioning the government, that's also something sort of important, that our country, like many others, supports the efforts of the UN to bring around sort of a peaceful solution to the conflict. So it's a good starting point, but we keep urging them to do more, to move, to do something in the unit, to sort of take some action in the United Nations to bring on the referendum, because really they need to be more, to do more. And the other thing is, with Western, it doesn't seem to be a problem here because you have the Prime Minister here, but make Western Sahara and self-determination a mainstream issue. By that I mean by those, say, political parties or whatever, and parliamentarians who are in a position to put some pressure on, say, the United Nations, etc. Because it's by being a it should be there in the mainstream, not as a fringe. Yes, okay, I'm finishing. Thank you for your indulgence.
Created in 2019 with 20 core members and about 100 supporters. Our association is very, very small, but we have some activities already, and we organized some conferences. We invited a Sahrawi lady from Tindouf camp, and she did information tour in Japan, all over Japan. And it was 2023, but now we're expecting to have another Sahrawi athlete in November, and he will do the second the speech caravan all over Japan, and So, and then we also published, very recent, we published a small booklet about octopus. Do you know octopus? Yes. In Japan, octopus is consumed a lot. So, but the many octopus in Japan is from Morocco, or I'd like to say from Western Sahara, but under the labyrinth of Morocco. So we raised this problem, and hopefully we'd like to start sort of the movement against this plundering, Moroccan plundering of seaweed food. And so hopefully we'd like to do some boycott movement or in other form of denouncing this plundering. Myself, I went to the camp in Algeria in 2023, and there I saw the situation of the camp is very severe. It's much more severe than here in Timor. And so climatically speaking, geographically speaking, because it's all desert, a very hot desert, and economically speaking, and politically speaking, in many senses, the situation is very harsh there. But I saw the people are really trying their best to have the normal life there. For instance, they have a very strong, solid system, administrative system, like in any other country, as a country of the Sahara, Western Sahara country.